All right. We are back in Belmar today at the Grit Won't Quit studio, and we have a very special guest on. We have John Arena from Performance Arena. How are you today, John?
I'm fantastic. I'm really honored to be here. And hopefully, if it's all right with you, Tom, I just want to give you big time accolades and gratitude for the work that you do for the small business community. You bring can I say shit ton?
Sure.
You bring a shit ton of value to people. You let them tell their stories. You bring out the best in them. And I really appreciate you being such a leader in our community of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are the only ones that know the kind of shit we go through and the stress, which I hope we get to, that we go through every single day. In your words, you could have the best day of your life at 10, and by 5 o'clock, the world is crashing.
It's the worst. It's the worst feeling.
Absolutely. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. And I never want anybody to come on the podcast just to say nice things, but I do appreciate it, John. Thank you. I'm glad that you follow us on social and that you've seen some of the work that we do. That's the goal. My goal, listen, my company's Wingman, and our goal is to help small businesses grow. We want to be their wingman. We want to have their back. We know how hard it is. I came from corporate America where it was very easy, and there was someone to do everything. And then when you start your own business and you're like, wow, all right, so I now am the boss, and I'm also cleaning the floor, and I'm also throwing out the garbage. I'm also doing my own invoicing. I'm a secretary. So, I get it, and that's why we try to, we overcame it. I've been in business 15 years, knock on wood, and I have a supportive wife. And, again, if you don't have those kind of things and you don't have a work ethic that's going to drive through it, you will go out of business. Like the stats of why people go out of business and the numbers, it's very, I could totally understand it. It's not hard to understand. It's very hard to run a small business. Everybody thinks, even you look at like the restaurants, these guys are killing it. They don't realize that on Tuesdays when there's 4 people in the place, that they still have to carry the rent. Or if you're in a seasonal area like a Belmar and you have to carry the rent through the winter, no one understands those kind of things. They only see it on a Saturday night when they're trying to get a reservation or when when their bill comes to them. They don't understand the day-to-day of a small business owner.
Yeah, and you have to be cut from as you say, from a certain cloth.
Yeah, entrepreneurs, you've heard me say it, they're wired differently. They're cut from a different cloth. It's a hustle. Like you said, at 10 o'clock you could be having the best day of your life, and at 5 o'clock it's the worst. Or, there are many times when 15 years later, I'm still like, oh man, I should be a little bit further in the hustle, but I'm still in that hustle. But, part of it is I love it. I love what I do, and I wouldn't change it for anything. But, there's other part of me that you just have to push through. You have to hustle. You have to stay focused, perseverance. And that's, I think, the grit of it all.
Yeah, exactly.
When we started this podcast a year ago, and we were coming up with names, our team was all thinking about different names, and Grit Won't Quit it kept coming back to me because it's the grit, it's that toughness, it's the mental toughness, it's the wellness toughness, it's the toughness of being who you are. And there's going to be days that are awesome, and there's going to be days that just suck.
Yeah, and you got to be able to grit it out.
You got to weather the storm.
Yes.
And again, I don't think it's for most. It's just a hard place to be. And you have to be okay being uncomfortable. You have to be okay, and when you're a small business and you have X amount of employees, it's lonely at the top. You can't talk to some of your employees about some of your problems. They would be putting in their 2 weeks notice and going to get other jobs. It's a different world.
Or they may want to commit you.
Yeah, exactly. But so I want to talk about a couple things because I think that you can definitely inspire and help some of the entrepreneurial community that watches this program or listens to this program on their favorite podcast networks. But with something about the wellness and about how valuable sleep is and how valuable exercise is. So I really want to dig into and let you get kind of educating us in a fun way. Don't make it too boring that we fall asleep on it.
Of course.
But what's the value of that wellness, and what's the value of what can sleep do for you? So just kind of go into, for entrepreneurs dealing with a lot of stress there, and they bottle it up, and a lot of them don't talk about it, and a lot of them, I always say when you're at work, you're dealing with it, and then when you get home, you want to have a family life. So you don't want to bore your significant other with all the boring things that happen at work that have to happen? Like,
Well, first off, I'm going to say this. It really is not your fault, because a lot of people do. Even when things are good and then they go bad, as entrepreneurs, we think, we have that imposter syndrome. And so there is a war on wellness, and it does not take a lot to see it once you just look at the surface level. So if we go back generations, 2-3 generations, what has been the increase in rates of cancer? What's going on with obesity? What's going on with diabetes? What's going on with that whole gambit of all diseases, cardiovascular and whatnot, that are affecting us on a day-to-day, basis, generationally? And so I'm not intelligent enough to understand or know what the motivation is between big pharma and even the industry that I love, the fitness industry. But you have to chase the money, or where's the pocketbooks, to understand what's going on. So, and then you take that where there's something going on against you to make you unhealthy for reasons I don't claim to know or understand, but they're out there. And then you couple that with, we are living in an era of abundance. There's so much food out there. There's no more. When I was growing up, when you were growing up, I'm certain of it. There were times when you go to the supermarket, you could only buy certain fruits or vegetables because they were in season. And now you can get anything, anytime, anywhere. If you don't want to go shopping, you Uber, Instacart, DoorDash, anything within 30 minutes you could have. It's amazing. And then we couple that with inactivity. So on one hand, we have food surplus and less activity.
And no one wants to go out for it anymore. They want to just DoorDash it so they can sit on their couch and pay the fees to DoorDash and the likes to.
You never have to leave your house.
I still like to go out. I'm not a DoorDasher.
But the younger generations are really getting there because they don't know what it's like to actually move.
I know. I think it's nice to go out. You talk to people. You say hello. You kind of, you meet people.
Exactly. So you have this war, this front that you're fighting on two different areas, on two different ends. You've got big pharma, the fitness industry, and then you've got inactivity and food surplus, and you're basically surrounded. So, and let me say this: I don't want to have this as a message of despair.
No, we want this to be a learning. We want this to be a fun, educational type podcast. It's not like all the negatives. We understand this negative, but I want to think about some actionable items. Now, you've been in business for 4 years with Performance Arena. So, what are some actionable items that entrepreneurs who are very busy can do in their day? Or again, I want to go back to the sleep one because I think that there's some real value in that. I've kind of started to change my sleeping habits, so I want to hear what you have to say about that one.
So I really want everybody to understand, you don't ever want to jump into something because you may or may not be able to sustain it for a week or two, but it's not going to be sustainable.
Sure.
So any of the things that I talk about, this is really for the entrepreneur that's like, yeah, that's great, John. You are claiming all this stuff and it's easy for you and all that. But I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. And I certainly don't have the bandwidth to now try something new.
It's hard. You get home from work late and you're like, oh, I got to do this now.
Yeah. So I got just 3 things that I would suggest to the audience.
Perfect.
The first one is that you really do try to work on your sleep. There are way too many studies that say, even from the performance standpoint, if you want to be at your best as an entrepreneur and you're not sleeping enough, you are going to.
How many hours does the average person need?
Yeah, that's a great question. The National Sleep Foundation, way back in 2015, updated the numbers. They should be between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Now, I could tell you if you are if you've got habits established and you're looking to lose weight, or you're looking to get even more healthy, or even for young guys like Andrew, right?
Shout out to Andrew today.
Yeah, shout out to Andrew. He's a behind-the-scenes guy, very nice guy. But guys like Andrew who may want to put on some muscle, even if you're in your 40s, and women can put on muscle too. It's very healthy, by the way, which we can talk about. You your sleep is going to impact that as well. And the sleep is going to impact fat loss, not just necessarily weight loss. So that's an important thing. The second thing that I would do is, and most importantly, is most Americans do not eat enough protein. The simple fact that if you eat optimal amounts of protein, you send a signal to your body to keep muscle tissue around. Muscle tissue is more than just flexion and extension of ligaments or limbs. It really is an organ unto itself. And so when you have more muscle, that creates lots of hormonal balances. So again, I would just eat lots of protein. Now, if you ask me what the recommendations are, I would just say, very simply, you can get much more technical in this, we're not going to get into the weeds, but very simply, whatever your target weight is, eat a gram of protein for every pound you want to weigh. And for most people listening, especially entrepreneurs who don't eat consistently, we know this is going to be one of the biggest struggles out there, okay, to do.
At the end, we're going to give John's information so that people can reach out to him directly if they have any questions, so that, if when you get into some of these specifics, so that people can find out more.
And the last one that I would recommend is some activity. So if you're doing nothing at all, then I would just say, go for a walk. It is that simple. So it's always about the individual where they are. Young guys like Andrew and John, like these guys, they probably will exercise a couple of times a week. So we might look at their programming, what types of exercises are they doing? Or we might look and say, well, maybe we can increase the amount of activity. But all of this, whether it's sleep, whether it's protein, or whether it's exercise, the most important thing, and I'll use sleep as an example, is if I say to you, let's say you wanted to lose weight, we would try to sleep 8 hours optimally. But if you're sleeping under 6 hours a night, and I tell you that number, if you think you'll be motivated and you'll go, yes, I'm sleeping 8 hours a night, and you do that 3 nights in a row, and then what happens the next day? You go back to not
Old
sleeping.
habits, yeah.
And then you say, screw it, I'm not going to do this, or it doesn't work. So the best thing that you could do, and this is the same stuff that I do with my clients, is just simply straight up, let's go from, let's say, 5 hours and 45 minutes to 6 hours. And let's do that for 4 to 6 weeks before we even think of going to
Small
6 hours.
incremental changes.
100%. Very much like a business owner. Like you guys that are succeeding out there, you know that in order to have success, it's not, sometimes there are these big jumps, but the only reason why you had a big jump is because you did the little steps that suddenly appears like a big jump. So none of us are going to go.
Hitting singles.
Exactly.
You want to hit singles all day long, not just try to hit the grand slam. That's going to happen once every. Volpe did it a couple, nights
and
ago.
to use your analogy, like even if you get a walk, as long as you get on base, right? Yeah.
So small steps, small incremental steps that are achievable.
Yes,
Because you don't want to lose. You don't want to go back in time and say, "I'm going to go back to my old habits of only sleeping 5 hours and 45 minutes." You want to stay with incremental, small steps that are successful, so that you can get to that next level. And then at 6 hours and 15 minutes, get to 6 hours 45 minutes.
Yeah, or even 6 minutes and 6 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah,
and I like achievable. One of the things I also like to say is sustainable, because it has to be as in, I am going to do this for the next 20 years.
Sure.
Just like most of us hope to have our business for 20 years to either sell or exit out, or to pass on to someone in our family who wants to do it too.
Exactly. I love it. Those are easy steps. I like that. Because again, I think a lot of entrepreneurs fall into I don't have time for this. Like if it's easy, it's doable. I've tried to start going to bed about a half hour earlier every night, for no other reason than I feel like I'm just tired. I feel like I was an 11:30 guy and I'd wake up about 6:30. So I was 7. I've been trying to go to bed like 10:30 now, 11, so that I just get an extra half hour to an hour. Not every night it works, but when I can make it work, I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it.
There's something that I tell my clients about checking their sleep, because the recommendation is 7 to 9 hours. Well, that's so ambiguous. So how can I test what my body needs.
Yeah.
And it's going to change. But what you want to do is you want to get 3 days in a row where you do not need to get up at any specific time. I wouldn't do it on vacation because you're already relaxed. So that's going to be different.
Yeah.
Or you may find it difficult to wind down the first couple of days. A lot of us entrepreneurs, even on vacation, will work the first couple of days until we hear shit from our spouse. And then
It's very hard.
Yes.
When you first get there, you're like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
Exactly. I don't know what to do.
What do I do? You know, go to the pool.
Right, exactly.
Go get one of those frozen drinks over there.
But if you could put yourself in bed early enough so that you don't have to rely on an alarm clock, and do that 3 days in a row, preferably weekdays, a few weekdays, and a weekend, then you can see what your body's requiring. So you go to sleep. Let's say, for me, I'm a 4 a.m. waker.
Or you're one of those.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. Well, I have clients early on, so if I want to check how much sleep I need, I'm going to be going to sleep or getting in bed about 7:15 at night just to see, does my body require. The last time I checked, I needed 7 hours and 15 minutes.
That makes you good.
Right. But that's to be maintaining my performance. If I want to, I'm an older gentleman, so I'm trying to prove, my next thing that I'm going to do is prove you can put on muscle naturally as a 50. I'm going to be 56 by the time this airs.
You look great.
Thank you. That you can do this. It will take a long time, but if I'm going to put on muscle, I need to be optimizing sleep, so I'm probably going to need 8 hours. So that's going to be
get
different.
the work done.
Right. But you do 3 days in a row, no alarm, go to sleep, so it gives you enough time. When you wake up, if you feel refreshed, that's probably your number.
All right. I'm going to try that. Now, you said I could do it on a weekend, and then you just...
Yeah, try like one weekend or and a weekday at least. You got to have, so you could do Fridays.
Yep,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Or Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, which,
that would probably be a good
yeah,
indication.
that would probably be the better one.
I feel like Sundays are my best day because Saturdays are lighter than during the work week. So by Sunday, you're feeling good, and
Yes.
It's crazy. It's crazy how sleep and diet and exercise all kind of play into this entrepreneurial world. So, from an exercise standpoint, you're saying just get out there and do a little more than you did yesterday. A lot of people have, they don't move a lot during the day. Yeah. Are you into the Fitbits and the Apple Watches, like to track steps and stuff like that? Is that in your wheelhouse of good measure?
Yeah, I would say any technology that you are comfortable using, to use it. So if it's a Fitbit, if it's an Apple Watch, if it's Garmin has products like that. There's a
friend of mine got this ring.
Yep, the ring, the Aura ring.
And it tracks his sleep too.
Yep, any of those. As long as you don't become obsessed with it, because back a few years ago, there were some people who were like just walking because they wanted to beat their last record. I think that then you're overdoing it. Like there is a danger in that, just like entrepreneurs overdo it. Don't sleep enough, don't eat normally, right? All those things, plus the stress of running the business. You don't ever want to overdo these things, but they're great benchmarks. So if you use them to say, oh wow, I'm getting 7 hours of sleep and I want to get to 7:15, you can monitor it. So yes, absolutely.
So 4 years ago, what made you decide that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first and foremost, like real quick background, went to college, graduated, had a corporate job. I was in real estate asset management, and I always felt like something was missing. And I was young, I was under 20 years old, my 30s, like 20, whenever you graduate college, whatever age you are.
22 to 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, and then an opportunity came across was presented to start working in the martial arts industry, and an opportunity to own and operate a martial arts school.
Now, were you into martial arts?
I was.
Okay, cool.
And I talked with a few mentors and relatives, and they always talked about small business owners. They took the risk when there was very little to lose. So obviously, there are plenty of people out there that are risking starting a business and they have families, but if you didn't have a family, then that's less risk or less worry. So it's like, all right, I think I want to try this martial arts thing, because ever since I was a child, I was always looking to be of help and of service, and I always thought it would be from the fitness industry. So martial arts was a good or a
Good
close
segue
fit.
in there. Yeah.
And it was the school I owned and operated mostly worked with children. So it was child development and helping people from that perspective. But slowly over time, I realized that I was missing my calling. And so once we got out of COVID, I was like, this is the time to do it. And that's when I switched gears.
Awesome. And now, how did you start acquiring customers?
Well, I had a few clients that were with me while I had the martial arts school because I was transitioning slowly. I thought I would be doing mostly brick and mortar, and I wound up doing mostly online and in person, going to individuals' homes and stuff like that. So that slowly transformed. So yeah, that was basically the genesis of that.
Very cool. So now you have clients like, are they recurring? Like, are you working with the same client for a longer period of time, or is it more of a consultation and then they go on their way? How does that work?
There's
Or are there multiple aspects?
Yeah, there's multiple. So like,
just like everything.
yes, exactly. I have clients. So the goal ultimately is to get someone to graduate. Teach that individual everything they need to know so they could lose weight, get strong, live long.
Perfect.
Very simple, right?
3 great rules.
Yes. And so once you have those tools, you can go about and live your life. Now, some people decide to move on, and I'm very happy for them. And others are, I know how to lose weight. I know how to get strong. I'm moving towards living a long, vital life, but I still want you to be my coach. And so they stay with me. Others, and that would be like for lack of a better word or phrase, the white glove service where I come to your home and do all your programming and do all your nutritional guidance and mindset. And then there's others where it's an online engagement where I still do all of that stuff, but you're more or less in charge with going to the gym or doing the workout in your home. And we talk once a week and we check in what's working, what's not working, what needs improvement, and how can I be of help to keep you moving.
You're their
towards
wingman.
I am their wingman. That's a great way to say it. 100%.
I mean, don't go stealing my name now.
No, I won't.
But you really are their wingman. You're their health and fitness and coach. You're their wingman.
Just like you provide the wingman solutions for the business, I do that for the health.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's great. Now, do you help them like with the meal prep and stuff like that if they need that assistance?
I don't do the meals themselves.
No, but you give them guidance.
Absolutely.
on what to prep themselves.
Absolutely. So if I was saying, let's say Andrew, we'll use Andrew for
Andrew's getting picked on today.
right? So
He's a meal prepper too.
Yeah. So if Andrew's taking in 150 grams of protein a day and I need to get him to 180 grams, I might say something like, look, we need to get to another 30 grams, but we're only going to get to 15. Let's talk about what 15 grams of protein looks like. Oh, it looks like a 4 to 6 ounce piece of chicken. Oh, it looks like 3 eggs. Oh, that's easy to do. Great. That's what we talk about. How can we do that?
You help them get there and plan,
Absolutely.
prepare, and get them to that, and then help them get to the next step too.
Exactly.
Awesome. That's great. So where do you see your business going now? I mean, because you could be worldwide. You could be nation. Like you're not limited to Monmouth and Ocean County. You can go anywhere.
That's a great question. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs are interested in scaling, but I'm also going to present a different angle on that. And that is, I'm not looking presently, and that could change, to once you reach a certain number, like I only want a dozen at-home clients, and I'll take up to 30 online clients. And then after that, then you need to start getting assistants. So I'm not into looking for assistant instructors. I generally will interview someone if they're in my wheelhouse, the client I want to work with, I take them on. If they're not, then what I do is I can refer them out because I'm part of a network of coaches.
Sure.
So that's, if a woman comes to me.
You like control of the ones that you want to work with, that
Right.
you have that you guys have like mindsets on.
Exactly. So if I've had female clients, but if a 35-year-old woman comes to me with PCOS, which is it's becoming more and more of an issue. So this was big, again, the war on wellness. More and more young women are getting PCOS. The last percentage was 12%. 20 years ago, it was like 3%. Don't quote me on the stats, but it's pretty high. And I would say, you know what, I would love to coach you, but you know what, maybe what's better is I know a few people who are experts in PCOS. Let's get you in contact and see if you like them, and then let's go from there. So yeah, sometimes that's how I would work it.
That makes sense. Now, you might though want to ultimately grow into assistants and having other.
Oh yeah, so I'm not close to it. I'm not close to it.
Here's a funny little fun fact about Wingman. I've been in business 15 years. I've at the beginning, the first 7 years, about the first 6 years, I just worked from home. I was a one-man operator. I was the guy. I was, you called me, I would help you. I didn't have a team. We didn't have offices. And I remember saying to my wife, we lived in a small little Cape Cod house, and I said to my wife, I said, we probably maybe get a bigger house. We both work from home. We're both never going to have office expenses and rents and employees. So let's get a bigger house. And so she says I'm loud. I mean, I'm not sure I see it, but here we are. So we get this bigger house. I don't think I was there probably a year, and we were in an office. And then we moved to another office. So it's funny because at the time I said, again, I was in my mid-30s, and I was like, we're never going to have offices. We're just going to work from home for the rest of our lives. And that was before working from home was cool. That was before it was a thing. And but then what happened was people would say to me, can we have a meeting? And then I'd be like, I'm meeting them at Starbucks, and I thought I looked like a gypsy. I was like, I didn't want them to come to my house because it's where we live, and
exactly.
But at the other time, I was like, I'm driving to Starbucks, and I was like, I'd rather just have an office where people could come in, meet me. We put on a big screen TV, and you have a conversation, and you get the work done. Again, there's some customers that like me, to go to their offices or their place of business, but a lot of times, especially now, you want them to come to your office so they can meet the team. They can meet Andrew and John and everybody else so that they can see who they're going to be working with. And, again, that would have been weird. And also at the time, now it's not weird anymore, but at the time, people didn't want to work for somebody that didn't have an office. People didn't think you were real. But now it's so different after COVID. So it's just a different world that we live in. But at the time, I thought I was like, I'm going to be a one-man show the rest of my life. And then as time has gone on, we've just,
Yeah, I haven't ruled it out. I'll tell you a long-term dream of mine would be, just because I'm so much into education and teaching people, would be to have a brick and mortar gym that is free. Basically individuals come into. My specialty is kettlebell training, so I would really try to teach that particular modality. All of them work, by the way. I'm not dogmatic about kettlebell training. It's just something that worked for me. After decades of back pain, I no longer have it, so I talk about it all the time.
So you live by it.
If you let me.
So
right?
you swear by kettlebells.
I do. But
what makes kettlebell training great?
Oh, it's a great question. The short answer to that is that your body moves with three different planes, if you will, like a side to side, a forward and back, and a twisting action. And kettlebell training really does utilize all those planes of motion that usually when you think of a bench press or a squat, you're very much in a very one-dimensional plane. So that would be the big, and it's very, it carries over to everyday life, because if you're twisting and bending, right, this is what happens in life. Injuries happen. I've hurt myself leaning over the wrong way, sneezing one time.
That sneezed one that hurts. I hate that one.
Yeah, I blew out my back when I had back problems sneezing 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Do you ever do kettlebell? Nope.
It's not very. You won't see them in most gyms, and I have lots of guides that I've made. One of them is top 5 exercises everyone over 40 should do, and there's a lot of kettlebell exercises in there. For example, a Turkish get-up is something, because of the carryover it has. You have to teach your body laying on the floor to come all the way to a standing position. Now, you're not thinking about this now, but one day you'll be 70 years old. And the last thing you want is to be on the floor and not being able to get up.
No.
This is a movement pattern that teaches you to get up, but you can also load it. So you could put 100 pounds and, start with it in your hand and wind up all the way standing up with it over your head,
Yep.
100 pounds. So like, there's all ways to do this. It's all about progression. As long as, when we talk about exercise and activity, if you start off with a 5-minute walk and that's all you could do, if you could do 5 minutes and 30 seconds, you've progressed. And that's as simple as it has to be for anybody out there who's really thinking, I have no time. Are you kidding me? I've got these bills, I've got my kids, I've got all my customers. Sometimes it's just taking a little bit of time.
So it's 5 minutes, and then making it 5 minutes and 30 seconds, then making it 10 minutes in a month, and then so everything's about small progression here.
Yes.
And achievement and being able to do it sustainably.
Yes. Yeah, I want the audience hopefully to understand this, that with that war on wellness, movement's medicine.
Movement's medicine. I like that one.
Yeah. And that is...
That might be the title of this one, or the war on wellness, either or. But we'll figure
whatever
it out.
you want, it's fine, right? But I didn't realize how impactful movement was until I couldn't. When my son was born, I had one child. He's probably about Andrew's age. I'm going to just pick on him a little more. He's about Andrew. Are you 23? 26. My apologies.
Everybody knows how old Andrew is now.
Andrew's 26. All you single ladies out there, unless he's already taken.
He's taken.
All right. So,
Andrew's girlfriend, I have you back here.
So, when my son was born, he had some issues, nothing serious, but he had some issues, and I couldn't work out for like 3 months. And it was real. I felt the difference. So,
Sure.
Right. And the same thing goes with sleep. I didn't realize how important sleep was until I wasn't sleeping optimally and realized how mentally clouded I was, or how easily I lost focus, or how I was moody and snapped at employees. Like, all of these things started to show up once I realized what optimal sleep was like.
Sure.
It's very much like a fish being in water, right? The fish doesn't know it's in water until you pull it out.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I always say incrementally, once you do those, even though you feel you may not have the time for them, once you realize the impact it has on your life and your business, you will prioritize that as much as you prioritize payroll.
Yep. And again, I think every business, most businesses don't double and triple overnight. It takes years. So it's the same progress that you're talking about. Get a 10% lift, get a 15% lift, get a 25% lift, and that's going to be the lift in their wellness.
Yes.
I love it. This was a great conversation today. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate your time, and again, once again, I appreciate all you do for the community.
So as we wrap up, you told me about a nice prize for a Grit listener. So as we wrap up, let people know where to find you on your web, your socials, if you want to put a phone number in, and then also tell them about that great prize you were telling me and Andrew about earlier.
Sure. You can look me up on the socials, LinkedIn, Facebook as John Arena. Best place to reach out to me will be on IG or Instagram at kettlebell.guy.
Kettlebell.guy.
Right. And for all of you small business owners out there, Tom and I have, I kept saying Andrew's name so many times. Tom and I have gifted you guys with a free assessment and coaching for the month. So you just go to bit.ly/grit won't quit assessment. No apostrophe in the won't. So grit won't quit assessment. bit.ly, bit.ly/ spell the entire words, all those words out, grit won't quit assessment. And what I'll do is you'll answer some questions. And what I'll do is those answers help me to make an assessment of where you are. And then I'll make some suggestions for your audience members.
That's fantastic.
On what they can do. And I will do that. I'll meet with you every week for 4 weeks to get the ball rolling. And I want to be clear with the audience. I want to just give this to you guys. I'm not looking for anyone to come on as a client. And I just really want to, as Tom, I've been so touched by what Tom does for the community. I wanted to be able to support all of you guys out there that are supporting him and, helping Grit Won't Quit podcast grow, and also the anybody that's a part of the Wingman family.
Awesome. This is great. I'm so excited. I thank you for that awesome offer. And when we do, when we post this and we put it on social media, we will also put the link in so that anybody that doesn't want to write it down or can't remember it, it'll be there. We'll make sure that it's posted. This was an excellent conversation. I learned a lot today, and I thank you for coming on.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it.
This was great. Thank you.